I'm Kelly Foss, and this is the final lesson of my 4-part series, Drawing What You See and What You Don't. Today I want to share with you 5 things that add interest to your art. What is interest? I'm saying like visual interest, to make people stand in front of your piece a little bit longer, not pass it by at the art show. Making a piece that people remember. And by no means is this an exhaustive list. There's no way I could cover all the ways that you can make your art more interesting. But I want to share with you 5 practical ways that I do, and show you my process of implementing them through this time lapse of me revisiting our model from session 3.
Such a pleasure to draw this artist, Michael Elena, again so soon. Here are my supplies that I'll be using: Strathmore paper, Lyra pencils, and I don't know if you'll see it, but I have my Princeton brush to wipe off those eraser peels. I'll be using the same drawing process that I've demonstrated to you in the 3 prior videos, so you can see the blocking is happening and how the drawing is progressing. I'm using the same photo from Drawing with Imagination, lesson 3. But I'll have this time lapse kind of going in the background so I can talk to you face to face, but then I'll bring it to the forefront and slow it down when I need to demonstrate how I am implementing one of these 5 ways into this drawing.
Okay, what is the first way that I like to add interest to my art? And that is through line variety. When I say line variety, I mean the line weight having different thickness. People don't realize how powerful this is. I love a broken line.
In lesson 1, drawing your hand, you probably realized the line weight differences. There were so many good areas for the lines to just disappear.
One of my favorite artists is John Singer Sargent, the master of the lost and found edge. I'll even show you here with Madame X, which I already mentioned in one of the previous videos, his most famous piece.
You can especially notice here in her arms some really thick lines, but also some completely lost areas tonally.
People will not even realize why this is so satisfying. It really just is.
Slowing this time lapse down right now just to point out here and here it's more subtle, just these areas where I'm not outlining. And I'm already choosing that I'm going to make that neckline kind of bold and the hair just to mesh into the shirt where it's tonally similar.
Of course, the one time I decide to incorporate natural light, sunlight's gonna be going off and on. Okay. The second way I like to add interest to my art is value. And I don't mean price, I mean the actual lights and darks of a piece. I see this too often, that it's a beautiful drawing, but there's no depth and there's no high points in the piece. So it's a very flattened and less interesting piece to look over.
I've masked in these values of the dark hair, and now with the white pastel, I'm just kind of scratching in where my highest high points are going to be. So I already see my range established.
Look at how powerful it can be to add a darkness and a light. It's no secret that I love working on tan paper. And one of the reasons is because it is a medium value. It's right in a range of, it's not light, but it's also not dark. And most of the world is in a medium value range. So when you work with tan paper, all you have to do is find some dark areas and then top it off with some light areas. You have this beautiful formy piece just coming out of your paper, which is so interesting. Way 3 that I like to add interest to my art, my treatment. Also, I guess I could say the texture. Sometimes I love to just spend a lot of time on the flesh of my portraits or my figures and really model them, really render them so they're smooth and soft and feeling very tangible. But then if the surroundings are also smooth and soft, it can all be a little bit boring, not very interesting to look at. If you follow me online, you'll see me do this a lot. Background rabble. And that's essentially, after I've spent all this time making a delicate piece, just scribbling in the background. Or like in lesson 2, I did hatching in the background.
And oh boy, do I wish I could work this fast.
Or like this portrait that I drew of the singer, Greg Cox. It was this artful hatching of colors. I wanted to emphasize that I had only used blue, yellow, and red to draw him. So I wanted to incorporate those colors around him. How I treat the whole piece is not going to be the same. If you get a plate of food, it can be much more satisfying to have a variety of textures and flavors on it. So when I draw or paint the same way, I want to see a little bit of variety, which leads us into way number 4, focus. I sometimes call it forced focus. Detail, sharpness, and value is where our eyes focus. Being aware of this trick also helps us in a negative sense. Don't put a lot of sharpness, contrast, or details
in those areas that you're struggling with. We want our viewers' eyes to peruse the areas that we're actually proud of.
Sometimes the area on our drawing that's giving us the most trouble, we spend so much time and attention on it, it naturally becomes the sharpest, the highest contrast in the most detailed area. And then it kills us because it's the area that we don't want people looking at.
But now you know it is in your control.
So use this trick for forced focus. My 5th way to add interest to my art is that it has my interest.
When I knew I needed to draw something to tie all these ideas together, I knew a portrait, because that's what I'm interested in. But not always.
Back in my academic years, I had to draw a bust of an old man, and I had no interest in doing that.
Oh, I'm having flashbacks just looking at this footage. Look at how I didn't even finish.
Because I had no interest in it, it took me forever. So difficult. But give me a subject I care about, and I'm all in. I want to show up at my easel. I want to be drawing. And I will put so much more passion in the piece. And believe it or not, that translates onto your page. So my 5th way of adding interest to your art is having interest in your own art. Draw the things you want to. Double up on your love. It's magic to add something else you love to your art. You love your children, you love your dog, you love desserts. Draw those things, and you'll see how much easier it is to give your time and attention to your works when your interest is invested in them.
So here's my piece, finished using all of these techniques to have a more dynamic, interesting drawing. It's in no particular order that I implemented these techniques. You can see my line varies. There's some more graphic lines, lighter lines, and completely lost lines. With her dark hair and pale skin, it was easy to implement on tan paper a nice range of value. My treatment or texture really varied. I had that really rough background, very soft hair, and then bringing us to the face that was more delicately done, which is then also more easily a forced focus right onto the face. And of course, as you know, I love portraits.
So those are my 5 ways to add interest to your art. I challenge you to find an old drawing, something that you didn't really care for, and try implementing some of these ways into it. And remember, for about a month as these videos are posted, I'm going to be active in the forum, chatting with you, answering questions, commenting on your works. So please feel free to post your drawings, especially if you've implemented any of these 5 ways: line, value, treatment, focus, and you. I would love to see it. I hope these 5 ways help you as they've helped me. Thanks to Strathmore for doing this workshop with me. And thank you all for joining me. Again, I'm Kelly Foss. Until next time, bye.